Oh, there we go.
I think it'll be fun anyway, you know. Rightio, 7:30. And we're just about where we need to be. And just like that. So that's where it's supposed to be at. What do we got going on here? Should have run it now. Why can't we see a screen there? That's interesting. Let's have a look here. Is the camera on? It's sort of supposed to be. Looks like it is. Ah, what's going on here? Oh, there we are. That's better. That's better. That's better. That's better.
Oh, right. How are we going now? What's it doing?
There's a bit of lag there. Yeah. There's our internet and all where it's supposed to be.
I can prove things. We'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Is that stalled?
Does seem a bit stalled on that stream. We better try and make sure it's as pretty as possible. We are good looking fellas, and we want to make sure that people are aware how good looking we are.
We want to be in HD.
HD.
High definition.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. If that's the view that the viewers are getting, that's not great. Internet's doing all this.
Oh, it's very, very slow.
Very slow. What would be causing that?
I think it's probably warbirds.
Ah, okay.
So I'll go back to this, and this will be a bit quicker.
Yeah, right. All right.
So we're live?
We are live. Oh, we're absolutely live.
Okay, so it looks like the warbirds lag has kicked in hard.
Yeah, well, what are they using? All of the digital bandwidth?
Oh, whenever you get, it's like everything. Tomorrow's got 4,500 people all interwebbing at the same time.
Oh, good point.
7:30 at night.
Yeah.
Put another 1,000 people into that equation, and all of a sudden,
fair call. Yeah, that
you've
makes
introduced
sense.
an additional 20 to 25% load on the system, and it struggles. I imagine that come 2:30 in the afternoon on Saturday,
internet's going to be
non-existent.
Yeah, right. I'll be in West Wallow at that stage, and so
grab some carrier pigeons.
I've got things to do. Yeah. I'll be busy.
Train them up.
I'll be busy. How are you, councillor?
Yeah, good. Now,
good. Yes, good
to
to
see you.
Always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. It's
hellos and the good boys.
It's probably a little bit less intense than it was in the weeks going into the election, but it's still going to be fun, and we're still going to keep bringing truth and justice in the Australian way.
Absolutely.
Because fuck it, that's what we do.
That is what we do. Now, my name's Anthony Irvine. I'm a councillor on Temora Shire Council, but the views expressed on this program are mine and mine alone, and not those of Temora Shire Council.
And I'm Dean McRae, and I'm not a councillor. Thank God for that. Probably for me and them. I'm not sure who was a bigger win for that side of it, but those of you who know me and committees, they're not really my wheelhouse. I do that stuff for fun, and really because I know it's a bit of a disruptive force in entities that I feel should be disrupted. But my views here are always my own, unless I'm expressly saying this was the view of so-and-so at the time as they expressed it. So you get exactly what I think when I'm thinking it, how I'm thinking it. So how's your week been, councillor?
What would you say? Highly rewarding and really, really some great results in my personal life and my business life. There's a day of my life I can't get back, which was the councillor induction day on Monday. And it was a rehashing of stuff that really doesn't need to be rehashed. And the first time I was subjected to it, I had an understanding in my own mind, which was subsequently proven wrong, that there were rules in place and people had to follow the rules, and that was important. I go to an induction now, and after one term on council and seeing how it actually operates, I've got less faith in the system and less faith in the structures. The person who undertook the induction was a lady called Kath Roach. She's got her own consultancy, which seems to be a great way to make money
Yeah.
out of local government. She actually said, now she's used to work for the federal police and she's worked all these different jobs. She has done code of conduct investigations.
Oh, right. Yeah. They're becoming more and more popular, I understand.
Well, this is an interesting thing, and this is one thing that she said that's just caught my ear on the day. Temora Shire Council reported code of conduct costs last year.
Yes.
Of about $28,500.
Yes.
And that was for 1.5 code of conduct complaints because one had been determined and there was another one in progress at the time.
Yep.
So even if you said, let's average that at 20 grand a complaint. Kath made the statement that she said she'd stopped counting code of conduct investigations she'd conducted once it went past how many?
20, 30, 40, 50, 60. How many is she dealing with? Hundreds? Thousands.
1,000. She said she stopped counting after 1,000.
1,000 codes of conduct in New South Wales or Australia? Or...
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So
frivolous bullshit, wasting time, money, and effort.
Even if you said Kath has gleaned $5,000
per customer, she's had a good little run off those.
That's $5 million in turnover for her
consultancy.
Small consultancy.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know whether she lives on the harbour in Sydney. I don't know whether she's got her own private jet.
Yeah, right.
You know,
she's got to be thinking about one.
Well, I'm telling you,
fair play. I mean,
if she's done 1,000 codes of conduct, and we know that 1.5 codes of conduct at Temora cost circa 20 grand a code of conduct. If that's the case and she's done 1,000 and that's the average, well, that's $20 million in turnover just on codes of conduct.
I think I'm in the wrong business. I might open a consultancy.
Yeah.
I could go and do that.
Consulting for local government. I'm telling you, it's lucrative. It's obviously lucrative. So she's come down to Temora and spent all day here on Monday.
Thank goodness she did.
I'd love to.
What would we have possibly done without her?
Well, this is the whole thing. They've got to jump you through the hoops of these codes of conduct, and then you spend the rest of the term wondering which rules will be applied and who they'll be applied to, and who the rules won't be applied to, and who is immune to the rules and who doesn't. Who's got a joker?
Come on, nobody can be immune to the rules. They're obviously set up for everybody.
Oh well, it's funny because there's an interesting part. They tend to threaten you with the oath that you take or the affirmation that you make.
Oh, yeah, right.
As though you may have breached your responsibility as to what you've sworn to.
Yeah, right.
But the affirmation or the oath,
go on, read it out.
Depending on your belief, well, it's a very short thing.
As it should be. I was elected by the people of Temora Shire Council, and as such, I will conduct myself in a way that I deem to be in the best interests of the people of Temora Shire Council.
Well,
does it not say that?
You've hit it on the head.
Look at that. Don't even need to read it.
I, Councillor Anthony Irvine, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of Temora Shire community and the Temora Shire Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. So if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty in that document, I've sworn to undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of Temora Shire.
Well, I could see that as being fair and reasonable because it's ironic, a lot of these things.
Now, if you expose things that
you deem to be not in the best interests of Temora Shire Council's residents,
is exposing things that aren't, what would you say? Perhaps might embarrass council.
Well, council
say something that might embarrass council, but the community needs to know about so that they understand what's going on. Now, is that undertaking your role in the best interest of the community?
I feel it is.
Is that the best interest?
I also feel it's important, and a lot of people do get confused because they think a lot of this is directly personal. Council is an entity. It is not a person.
No, it's a
It is.
corpse. It's a corporation.
It is a corporation. It's an entity. It's no more personal.
Well, it hasn't got feelings, has it?
Correct.
Mm.
It's an entity.
Yes.
It doesn't have.
Yes.
The people in there can have feelings. They can crap on whatever they like, whatever they don't like. But critiquing a corporation, an entity, for bad behaviour or things that have gone on within it that you don't feel are morally
in the best interest
of the best interest of the people, seems perfectly legitimate and well within what you've signed up for.
Yeah, so
seems pretty straightforward.
So that part of it's very interesting. So anyway, that's what I signed up for. So we've got 4 years of me undertaking the duties of councillor in the best interest of the people of Temora Shire community. Now, I imagine there'll be some debate as to what is in the best interests, and I look forward to that debate.
That'll be a fun debate. Yeah. I mean, look, yeah, and I'll just reiterate: council's an entity, not a person. There's no single person on council that's that important that they get hell no high water, and that their way is the highway. Anybody who thinks that it is probably, a little bit too in love with the smell of their own excrement, and possibly needs to, I don't know, just come down off their little clouds a little bit.
But they also need to realise that they're public servants, and
that's
they're
all
being
they are.
paid from the public purse, and they answer to the community for their performance. So, there's quite a few of them that seem to be quite sensitive to criticism, and
well, you've copped more than your share of criticism.
I've copped absolute big double loads of criticism. I think it's approaching road train proportions.
Yeah, and I think you cop it in reasonable good humour,
Well, 4 codes of conduct, like I said, it's in the modern era, it's unprecedented. You'd have to go back to the days of when Jack the Ripper was on council, or Ivan
running around having a good time. Yeah, it's out of control. So, well, look, it's done now. You've done your training. Are you now a certified councillor?
Well, we had our first council meeting tonight, and all we did was sit around and we elected the mayor and the deputy mayor. Surprise, surprise. Thurman Sinclair. The train rolls on.
Was there any?
No, there was no alternatives. Nothing. No one actually nominated me. No one even rang me and said, "Would you like to be nominated for mayor or deputy?"
Yeah, right. I'm not surprised. Did anybody else put their hat in the ring at all?
No. It's all stitched.
Same thing. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, look, I'm not overly surprised by that.
No, either am I. I knew that.
I knew that. Not overly surprised by that.
I knew that, but what they didn't know, and I think this is the main takeaway from tonight's sort of just conversation around this, is I think that some people really hoped that I wouldn't get re-elected. And, they thought probably 4 codes of conduct and a lot of misinformation, a lot of really scurrilous rumours that had been spread freely around town might do the job. But unfortunately, there is. And this is the thing. Had the people of Temora succumbed to the fake news, and I had have been denied the opportunity to represent their interests, I would have been really disappointed, and I would have questioned the guts of the people of Temora. I would have questioned the calibre of the community that I live in, and I would have really wondered whether or not being part of a community was worth of that style. Was worthwhile, because when you're basically sticking up for people who are getting
tailed up left, right, and centre.
Well, certainly not getting represented in the fashion that most people would expect to be fair. You'd like to think other people would get around you and actually help you out,
rally, and give you a bit of support. That'd be nice.
If that hadn't been forthcoming, I would have done a fair bit of soul searching and really thought about whether or not the Temora community was a place that I'd want to call home. But to get such a solid vote in the face of all of the negative press and the negative treatment with the codes of conduct.
And the 12-year-old girl style rumours that were punched around and have probably still been punched around.
Oh, they would be ripped. they'll be digging in for another 4 years of absolute pure unfiltered BS. There's no doubt, but at least I think with your assistance, and this is the whole thing, with your assistance and with the assistance of the alternative media, because we've clearly demonstrated on this program enough instances of the mainstream media probably peddling one side of the story and not providing a platform for the other side of the story to be heard.
Oh, absolutely.
And a complete media blackout from other forms of media. So ABC Riverina are quite happy to bring up characters and personalities in all throughout the region. Now, they rang me once.
Yeah.
I gave them some comment.
Yes.
I copped a code of conduct from my council for making that comment, although I clearly said to the interviewer from ABC Riverina, hey, I'm a business owner in this area talking about the excrement that's
quite
turning up.
literal excrement
Yeah,
for those who aren't. I mean,
we had a situation in the industrial area where truck drivers who were overnighting were doing their business on the footpath before they departed of a morning. And some people will say that that's due to a lack of facilities for these individuals, and that's probably my view. I do think that there may be a shortfall in those type of facilities for the people in that industry in Temora. I'm a strong advocate to improve those facilities, but I was approached by ABC Riverina. I made comment, and I said, but I can't talk on behalf of council. I'm only a councillor. I'm a business owner in this area, a property owner in this area, so I can talk on that
perspective from that.
But they never communicated that. So I've copped a code of conduct on that.
Listen, one, they're not feeding them. Two, the people throwing out a code of conduct.
I rang the radio station and they didn't return me call. Then I rang them again. I rang them 3 times and they were as weak as piss, a more gutless bunch of grubs. Like if they ring me again, they can go as far away as they want.
Oh, mate, look, when I've had my run-ins with
no, but that's
what they do.
That's the bullshit that you got to put up.
The people who have too much faith in these entities of being square, straight shooters are a combination of naive, I think, and it's not meant to be an insult. It's just there's this little ray of sunshine that everything you see that's on, if it's on a mainstream media channel, it must
the current grubs who are running these programs are leveraging the fine tradition of media and journalism that actually they don't deserve it. They're trying to ride on the coattails of people who've actually got some integrity, and these people haven't.
Well, clearly, they haven't got a whip of integrity.
So here we are with a paper that's quite happy to
spread whatever bullshit comes out of.
Certainly quite happy to give a platform to one side of the story and
a bias. I'll say a bias. I don't give a shit. A biased review of the other side of the story.
No, the most recent interaction I had with the reporter from the paper.
Ah, yes, you and I spoke about this.
No, this was halfway through the last term of council when I got approached for comment by a reporter that I hadn't dealt with in the past, and I give everyone a chance. Everyone gets a go, and you're innocent until proven a dickhead. So I said, okay, here's my comment, but I said I want you to show me what you're going to print before you print it, so I can make sure that you're presenting my views accurately.
Yeah, for sure.
So the journalist said, no worries. So he's written up his draft and he sent it through to me on email, and I checked it and I said, no, you've got this wrong, you've got that wrong, change that, and I'm 100% happy with it.
Yep.
And to his credit, he said, yep, no worries, you're happy with this? I said, yep, that's exactly my views.
Fair call.
He communicated with me 24 hours or 36 hours, 48 hours later that the editor had pulled the story. Wasn't going to run it.
Of course he did. And that's your mate, Propaganda Pete.
Yeah.
Percent Pete.
Yes. So
Piddly Pete.
Well, what can you do? You've got a reporter that you give the time to make the comment, check the comment, make sure that they're representing your views correctly.
Yeah. They
go to run that story, and your views are removed from circulation. How dare you make sense to the public? How dare you portray a side of yourself that actually would appeal to a lot of the community? And how dare you actually go contrary to what we've been told to portray of you.
Absolutely. Oh, this is what we're dealing with. This is why these sort of platforms are so important.
That's exactly right. Well, the only reason this Dean and Irv Spin Doctors exists is because you had the platform and you invited me to share that platform on occasion.
Well, let's be fair. I invited all councillors.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You were the only one who took me up on the opportunity.
Yeah.
I didn't single out you specifically and say, right, only Councillor Irvine was allowed to come down here.
I wasn't given any rails. Right. There was certainly a every program that I appeared, I distinctly recall once, if not multiple times, that you would make that exact same claim. If anybody out there wants to come on and have their say in agreement or in opposition to what's been said here tonight,
more than happy to do it. And that offer still stands. If anybody who's on the newly elected council that wants to come down, sit here in this chair, either with me or Irv, or we could do it somewhere slightly differently if that's what you want to do. If you want to do one without Irv and you just want to have a frank interview, I mean, I'm not going to pull any punches. I'll ask you whatever questions and I'll expect 100% honesty to the best of your capability. I'm not going to be here licking windows on your behalf. I can assure you of that. But I'm more than happy to give that opposite view. And the difference between me and our mate Pete is I'm not a journalist. I'm not I certainly don't charge any money for this. No, I get to stick to my absolute integrity, and some people really dislike that, and that's fine. I couldn't give a shit. None of them pay my bills. But what I can comfortably say is I sleep really good at night knowing that I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to invent bullshit. I'm not trying to go, righto, Councillor Irvine walks on clouds and he's amazing. I am not what would they call me? A disciple. Yeah, that's right. But I was more than happy to give the guy the platform. And to be honest, when I heard the story, I was more than interested in going, hang on a minute, this I can smell some bullshit. I've got a pretty good bullshit radar. And then when all of a sudden we started getting clamped down on by some cowards in positions of, I'm going to pretend and to use the word authority like that means much to me. It really doesn't. Telling me that this guy is not allowed to be on local community radio as an elected community official, and local issues aren't allowed to be talked about on radio, particularly after they pissed, moaned and grizzled that I was talking about too much national, international stuff. I talk about Trump and Kamala or Trump and Biden, or I talk about, Javier Malay, or I talk about, whatever was going on in Britain at the time. Oh, well, you don't talk about enough local stuff. The Scon Club needs more.
You've got to talk about the right local stuff. There's a right local stuff and the wrong local stuff.
Now, I mean, look, I was told I'm not allowed to mention the radio tonight.
Really?
The local radio.
Who told you that?
Oh, well, a formal official
of the local radio
station, yeah.
Well, that's going to blow up in your face. I'm pretty
sure.
Tell
you what, isn't that like a red flag to a bull? Now, there's a couple of things.
Are you bound by a code? Is ACMA censoring this?
I had a chat with ACMA, let me tell you.
No, but ACMA censoring this tonight.
No, I can give a rat's ass what ACMA has
so ACMA can't say anything. Are you a member of the press council of?
No.
So you can say what you like.
Can and will.
Look, and if they want to come and
here's the thing, right? Now, during the federal election, I made a couple of appearances. I was invited to go down and speak by a couple of presenters at the time. Local, would you come down and talk about what your campaign's all about? My philosophies haven't changed all that much in the last 20 years, really. I'm a hardline libertarian. But I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to share the whys, the pros, the cons, and discuss ideas all day long, right? What I'm not willing to do is be dictated to. But after that little period, they sort of went, oh, this guy can talk a bit without a script, heaven forbid. You only need a script when you're telling lies, and you've got to keep your story on track. I don't need to keep a story on track because I kind of know what I'm saying and I don't have anything to hide. You've got to have a really good memory if you're going to tell bullshit regularly. So anyway, I got invited to do a program on what I'm affectionately call Pterodactyl FM.
Yeah, that'd be kind.
I think I've been very kind, considering, the shit show debacle that it's become.
And pterodactyl indicates something along the lines of the dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs and,
ended up going
extinct, correct. And I got in there, I made it very, very clear if they wanted me to have a program, the powers that be at the time, the lady who was the president at the time, was one of the stalwarts, Rabina Moore.
As a libertarian,
I was as a libertarian. She wasn't. I mean, I don't know what her political philosophy was,
No,
but
but-
I made it very clear to her and
but
the
your
people there
original appearances had been as a political candidate.
as a libertarian. And if I'm going to
Opinions.
absolutely, and if I'm going to
Your
do a
own
program,
opinions.
100% my own opinions. And if I'm going to participate in donating what works out to be about 3 hours of your life a week
Hmm.
to a community radio station, I don't make any money out of it. I didn't sell any wares. I
Yeah.
didn't, you know, like,
Yeah.
there was nothing to be gained for me. I mean, I'm a single dad.
You
I
weren't a
just,
sponsor of the program.
no, well, no, I wasn't a direct sponsor of the program, but I did generate a few sponsorships.
Yes, you did.
Ironically enough.
Yeah, quite a few.
Now, I made it very, very clear on that program that no, I'm not going to be censored. I agreed to be very, very careful with bad language.
Well, you're going
to
to come
which-
with opinions.
Absolutely, absolutely. But what I agreed
Yeah.
was the only form of censorship I was willing to participate in is I will absolutely do my level best not to swear on air,
Yeah.
and I upheld that. I think there was a couple of you know, and I did have one or two guests on, including a current sitting councillor from
Couple of
Wagga.
trips up Ship's Creek.
There was a councillor who's currently an elected councillor in Wagga who made an appearance, and I had to, hey, whoa, back.
Whoa.
But that's you try and tell them they're only human. These things happen. We haven't got a 10-second delay.
No.
Now, I'm quite happy to deal with a certain amount of fossils and their nonsense. I'm quite happy to deal with a certain amount of, and there was a lot of gibbering bullshit. We saw the demise of the Sandy and Nev show. They were sort of, depending on who you talk to, were run out of the joint.
Yeah.
Fairly hardcore. Now, Sandy's, I like Sandy. She's a nice lady. A little bit quirky. Hey, whatever. Horses for courses. But her and her partner, Nev, or husband, I don't know. It's a marital status. I don't know my marital status. Would go down there and put in quite a lot of effort and participate. And that's what a community radio station's all about, best I can tell. Now, they would argue that they were chased out of the building by, and look, I didn't go to any of their fucking committee meetings or any of that shit. I don't want to know about the politics of the joint.
They've communicated to you that they felt
They've
pressure.
communicated to me quite a lot in writing and personal that not welcome, get your shit, get out. And it was,
Your kind ain't welcome here.
Yes. And look, and you know what? Was there, is it a two-way street of some shit? Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I certainly received one side of the story. Rabina Moore, president, stalwart, no longer down there.
Yeah.
Now
Kenny Davis, I've had some interactions with Kenny Davis. He's got nothing to do with it now anymore either, which is a bit sad. He was
a bit of a stalwart.
Yeah, long term.
I don't know. I've heard stories. Again, I don't go out there of severe bullying in the joint. Now, and again, it seems very similar to certainly what you've experienced, where some of these people, were ill-treated.
That you've been told that by people who've
experienced it.
Yeah. But you've experienced it yourself.
Well, I experienced attempts at it. I'm not exactly easy to bully, but if they came at me with even a quarter of, or them with even a quarter of what they...
But basically, they've come to you and they've told you you can't have me on your radio program.
Correct.
As a guest.
Even
though I'm an elected councillor at Temora Shire Council.
Yes.
A member of the community, lived here for over 20 years, and but I can't come on your radio.
Not welcome.
And then you can't talk about community matters.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like bullying to me.
Well, it was an attempt, definitely an attempt at bullying. Obviously, I think we tried to define bullying the other week, but the reality is I don't get bullied very easily. We had a couple of conversations. I received a couple of very, very poorly illiterate written letters. Some of the letters that were pretty close to, my 11-year-old was doing better work in year 7, gibbering nonsense. Now, and here's something I'm going to tell everybody. If you're going to gun for me, I'm going to gun right back. So I know we're slow learners around here, right?
Yeah.
The paper tried it on and I was supposed to go away. I spent weeks and weeks just fucking hammering them.
Well,
I am not going to be fucking bullied by anybody. Now, they sent me these, what I'm going to say are pretty close to embarrassingly illiterate letters, telling me what I could and couldn't talk about and that you were banned. Now, I responded with a very, very in-depth letter. Again, all these are active and live still on my Facebook accounts. I haven't pulled them off. They're not coming down. You want to send me dumb bullshit? I'm
I'm
absolutely.
going
I'm going to post it.
Yeah. If you want to make your thoughts public in a letter, and there's no confidentiality in it.
No, absolutely
If
not.
you write a letter to me, I'm going to put it up.
You send me shit, and I'm going to let everybody see it because I've got nothing to hide. If you've got something to hide, don't send me dumb shit, right? So I responded with a letter which you can read there, which basically, in a very polite manner, said, "Go fuck yourself."
Yes.
I won't be banning an elected council official from my program per se. You guys do whatever you want to do with that.
I'm going to talk about community issues on community radio.
I'll do that, yes. And I can, I pointed out a couple of points in their own constitution where they, as far as I'm concerned, they're in conflict with themselves.
Oh, look.
But like all these entities, they do whatever they want. And unless I'm going to go on the board of directors down there and spend more hours dealing with bullshit, it was far easier to walk in there and them go, well, if you're not going to do as you're told, you can hand your key over. All right, cool. I get my Thursday nights back. But then I went, oh, I think we've got a, we better go live and start,
And how many weeks or months did it take from your last radio show till we went live?
Did we have a week off?
No.
I don't think we even did we? We just went live the very next Thursday. And I think I don't know, the first week we had about 200, 300, 400 viewers in the first go. I think on average, this program gets about 300, 400 committed viewers. When tensions are high, it'll go up. I can do videos that just of me talking shit that'll go up to 1,500 to 2,000 views.
We've had our thousands, our 1,200s. That's way more rich than we ever would have had.
Oh, down there, bullshit. Yeah, that's right.
I've had people in the community come up to me since we've started doing this, and here we are tonight up to episode 18.
Yeah.
So it's real. And there's a backlog of stuff there, so people can sit there if they're bored. Like they've got to be
and go back through
and go back and actually catch up on a few things and understand a few of the background stories behind some of this stuff. But here we are.
To their credit, some people are actually going back and doing a little bit of homework, because I'm running into people all the time who are going, "Look, we think you're a bit mad." I can't deny that. There's a fair argument for that. I would never turn around and go, "Yes, I'm certainly not a conservative anything."
I don't run around licking butt.
Yeah, but I'm definitely not doing that. But but then they sit here and they watch what we're doing, and I've had to explain to people that look, I don't do the facts and the figures like you do. I know my stuff. I know my philosophies. I know my principles. You've got the facts, the figures, and the issues on that particular stuff. If I roll out facts and figures, they're going to be very, very accurate. Otherwise, I'm talking in generalized terms. But here's the thing that I'm not going to be told that I'm not allowed to talk about Pterodactyl FM on Dean and Irv's Spin Doctors. That's not going to happen. You're not going to tell me I can't talk about an entity. I'm not going to name drop any shit for brains that happen to run their traps inappropriately. I'm not going to name drop anybody who has the audacity to, I don't know, do drive-bys past. Not even just my house. Apparently, it's happened to a few others. There seems to have been a few issues coming out of this joint with people who can't seem to. Let's just say that some of these folk get a little bit too excited about how important TEM Pterodactyl is. The reality is a little shit bird to Bob Station in Temora. I hope it does really well. Well, I did hope it would do really well. That's why I generated a few sponsors. But the fact that these people are so obsessed and fucking head up bottom that they're willing to go and sit outside people's houses, talk trash, or attempt it's like pensioner intimidation.
Some sort of intimidation going on.
I'm not going to do it. I'll put the hose on you. I'll pick your car up and throw it over the road. I would give
take a video of you and post
it. I would arguably, beat the living bejesus out of somebody who, if I felt they were stalking and intimidating and harassing my family, I would make no apologies to be doing that shit.
I think you're well within your rights, and I think in a court of law you'd probably be protected.
I reckon so. And the other side of it is, if you don't like it, don't sit out front of people's houses. Now, I know of a couple of the women that were involved in the station that have had challenges with people parked out front of their houses.
That's a bit sick.
Now, it's silly to do it to me. That's just foolish. Like, if you're that silly, I'm not saying that I'm not Muhammad Ali by any stretch. I've copped a few. There's been a few wins, few losses, but I've also thrown a few out there both ways, right? I am not adverse to a physical confrontation if need be. But I'll tell you what, if they're going to go and do these sorts of things out front of single ladies' houses or elderly ladies' houses, and they think this shit's okay, I'll tell you, I'll start wrapping, packing, stacking. See you later. I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not going to call the police for that sort of shit. I'll call the police if somebody has an accident and Their life
And
is
I'll
in
call
danger.
the police after you've sorted it out.
Well, cool. Fill your boots.
Yeah.
Fill your boots.
And I think if you've got multiple cases of someone actually intentionally intimidating people.
Oh, absolutely. And multiple people.
Yeah.
Children, women. Like, what the frig is wrong with these people?
Yeah, no, that's a bit.
You know? Pack your shit, stay at home,
Level, isn't it?
focus on your silly little station. And if you're going to come gunning for me, you'll land on the same shit show as Mr. Pete's bloody retarded merry-go-round.
This is another example, and this is the problem. These things are inherently. Someone said to me the other day, you don't like the paper, and I said, no. I like the paper. I like the idea of tomorrow having a paper. I like the people who work at the paper. The problem I've got is that the editor seems to want to.
He wants a war.
He wants to print a one-sided story. He wants to, ignore really important news stories from tomorrow that might be embarrassing to certain people. But he'll go to Wagga and he'll dig dirt on you and he'll front page news.
That's all he had to do is he'll bring me up for an interview. I would have told him.
He'll ignore news stories in tomorrow that really are public interest and the community should know about. He'll ignore that. And he'll print word for word a media release released by Temora Shire Council dealing with a code of conduct complaint about myself. He won't go to the next step and actually relay to the community what the actual charges were, what I was accused of actually doing, and the level of depravity that I may or may not have been charged with. He won't go to the trouble of actually getting the other side of the story. He's quite happy when the story is delivered to him on a platter and it's all one-sided and he just slaps it out there, slaps it into him. And, I've described him and his type.
Oh, there's a type for sure.
Yeah, as a bad publican. Because when it's all said and done, there's a pub in a town and it's there for 100 years. And over the course of that pub, you might have 30 or 40 different publicans.
Yep.
And some of them are going to be ripping people who do a great job and they're fantastic parts of the community and the place really goes well. And other ones are just good for nothing and they're grubs and they're hopeless and they go by the wayside. But in the end, it's the community's pub.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're only
a caretaker for
as an
X amount of
editor
period.
or a publican. You're just a caretaker.
Yeah, I mean, look.
If you do the right thing, your business will be successful and you'll be thought of well by the community and you'll be a valued part of it.
And let's not miss the point. At one stage here, I believe there was about if you include the golf clubs, the RSL clubs, there was 14, 15 drinking holes allegedly in tomorrow. I think there's about 4 now, 4.5 maybe.
There's a story that back in the gold rush, there were 70 canvas and board taverns the length of Hoskin Street.
Yeah, right. I believe that.
Yeah, so we've come back a bit since
then.
So
they've come back a bit, but I mean, newspapers are sort of the same. I think newspapers are dying out. I think pubs, in the traditional sense, dying out.
But I still think there's a place for them in these smaller communities, and I think with a sensible approach and a good publican has always had they're fair people.
Yeah.
They treat everyone the same.
As they should.
And there's nothing worse than going into a hotel and being made feel unwelcome in a hotel in your own town, or just segregation or just different treatment of people.
For sure.
That's where we're at. We've got a situation here where we've probably got, well, in my opinion, we've got
a paper run by a piss poor publican.
Well,
Pete the piss poor publican.
Yes.
Publisher
who purveys propaganda with a great
Let's turn this into a Dr. Zeus episode.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
could be fun.
No, I've done a few of these over the trip. I'm just going to get a few of them rolling, get the tongue loosened up. But also then we've got the dinosaurs at Pterodactyl FM running around thinking that they mean something.
Oh, look, they absolutely. And look, I'm not delusional. I know this has a modest little effect of putting some truth out there, this program.
Maybe it has a great effect.
But I'm not sitting here going, fuck, look at us, we're media stars.
No.
Like, I mean, I'll jokingly say I'm famous as shit, but that's the same way Ned Kelly's famous, apparently, depending on how you look at it.
No.
Right?
Look, I'm famous for not succumbing to the bullshit. I'm famous for being absolutely attacked, and I've had rumours spread about the absolute
Pardon me.
highest and best running around Temora, and it's all smack. And I've had, the paper coming at me for about
What?
4 years,
Oh,
and-
they weren't sure. They weren't gentle. They weren't
But
coming
look-
at you half-assed.
But look, is there bruises,
No,
cut, scratches?
maybe. No, it's all good.
It's all good.
Well,
So
here's one for you, right? I've actually found. Now, there's a couple of politicians I don't mind. I found a politician that I think we should replicate in every city, every town, every community in Australia.
yeah, I saw this post. It did.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
A town in Minnesota, in America, which ironically is the same state that Tim Walz is governor of. So I'm hoping that when he's, I don't know, speared out on his ass for being proven to be quite incompetent, as we've seen lately, hopefully this politician will take over. But this town has elected Khaleesi the dog as its mayor. And it's worked because the dog's been, it was re-elected, sorry.
Yes.
The dog wasn't elected, the dog was re-elected as mayor of this community.
How many people in that town?
Oh, look, I don't know, but I'm moving there. I'll pack up and go there tomorrow. How good's that? I don't know. We got to find that out because it's brilliant.
Well, it is.
But, Great Pyrenees wins mayoral race in small Minnesota town. Like, that's phenomenal. I think we should look next elections here. I might run a dog.
But
I'm going to nominate a dog. I think that's phenomenal.
One thing that I'm finding,
They don't tell lies. They don't make up stories. They don't even care if you embarrass them. If they do something silly and they embarrass them, you can hit them on the nose with a newspaper and they're all right.
there's a really unusual situation unfolding at Snowy Monero Regional Council.
Oh, with Andrew.
Yeah, now Andrew Thaler obviously has his detractors,
Absolutely.
but he obviously has his supporters because he got elected to Snowy Monero Regional Council.
What was his vote? I haven't spoken to him.
No,
for a
he
few
came
weeks.
in
That's a few months. but
fairly low down the pecking order.
Yeah, but he's in.
But he got elected. So
Yep.
it really doesn't matter whether you get
Win
the
by-
most or the least. Yeah, equal once you get in the room
Yeah.
because your vote's worth one.
Yes.
Okay, now I don't know the bloke from a
I've had a bit to
Dead
do with him.
Brumby.
I know him.
I don't know him from a dead Brumby,
Yep.
but I do know that he's got a heap of people who've got the Hades for him.
Oh, God, yeah.
Now,
He's less popular than you in some circles.
well, it appears that way, but he's been elected to council. Now, that's really got a few people really upset, and they're trying to get rid of him.
Congratulations, Andrew.
I think the problem is they haven't got any evidence.
No, they just, look,
So it's just people who just don't like the bloke.
I've had a bit to do with him.
Yes.
Like, directly. I've been to his house,
you've
but
met him and
I've been to Nimitable, where he's sort of, his home territory up there in that area. I've, had quite a few conversations with him. We've caught up a little bit. I believe he actually came to my campaign launch in Wagga for the the last federal election. Was it 2020, whatever it was?
2022.
22. Time flies when you're having fun. He's a quirky guy. He can be a brittle guy. If you're on his shit list, he's not shot backwards about coming forwards.
Tells you what he thinks.
Absolutely.
Doesn't bottle it up.
I reckon he and I probably agree on about 80 to 90% of things. I reckon there's a few topics we could probably get into an argy-bargy on. But, I don't trust anybody that I agree with. Anyone who agrees with me 100%, I've got to start questioning their capabilities to think for themselves, if you know what I mean. But I've always found him to be pretty direct and pretty honest.
I think he's too honest for his own good.
Oh, without a doubt. But some of us are guilty of that.
There's a news source called About Regional. So I'm reading directly from About Regional. So it's on a website, regional.com. So it's a news source that's dealing with these local issues. Now, apparently, when this individual got elected, the CEO at Snowy Monero said, I can't cope. I'm packing me bags and I'm out of there.
Really?
And
that's fantastic. That's
Andrew
hilarious.
Thaler says he's glad Snowy Monero CEO resigned.
Yeah, well, fair buy. See ya.
He said he slammed the exit of the Snowy Monero Council's chief executive officer He's done an Elvis and left the building, said Mr. Thaler. I'm glad he resigned because he didn't deserve to be there. So Mr. Thaler's in the building, and ex-CEO Mr. David Hogan is out.
David Hogan's packed his bags.
Packed his cricket bat, and he's
grabbed his parachute
gone.
and he's out of there.
Now, they had a ban in existence for Mr. Thaler that apparently he wasn't allowed to go into any of the
council events.
He wasn't allowed in their buildings.
Yeah.
This is a ban that existed. Now, apparently, it appears that there was no evidence this was based on. It was just purely,
we don't like this bloke.
We're going to ban you.
And I'll tell you, and again, I haven't been with him, but I suspect to a degree he could be a bit of a serial pest, perhaps.
Well, they've mentioned serial pest in this article.
And I don't mean that necessarily negative. If going in and standing up for things you believe in and challenging certain behaviours and activities of an organisation is being a serial pest, I'm guilty.
Well,
you're currently guilty.
You
know, there's quite a few residents of Timor I know who have sent me messages over the last 6 months who would certainly qualify as serial pests. I got the second most
amount of first preference votes.
Yes.
So if I'm a serial pest, there's a lot of people who support the pest.
Yes. They're very, very supported.
So that's good. Well, and the same thing appears to have occurred. Seems to have occurred here. So he basically swore himself in. He got a JP to swear him in.
Yeah.
Because they weren't going to let him into the council buildings. Pretty much, he's an elected representative. Their ban on his presence there appears to have been paper thin.
Of course, as
not
usual.
based in any act or law.
No.
And he challenged it, and it crumbled.
Of course, and he will continue to challenge it.
He's going to challenge.
He's not going anywhere.
Any of their well-held beliefs.
Absolutely, he's not going anywhere.
This is the thing.
I might even invite him on the program. He can come and give his side of the story. That could be fun.
There is something that's fundamentally, and have a drink, Adam and Annie.
Yeah.
Bowled out the fundamental, but there's something, and even though, and some people say that local government isn't recognised in the Constitution, which is true. Local government appears to be a establishment of state government and empowered by state government. So local government isn't recognised in the Constitution, and that's borne out by the fact that there's been multiple referendums seeking the recognition of local government in the Constitution, and they've failed. So local government exists by an act of the state government. But once you go through the election process, by law, you're elected by the people. And all of a sudden, all of their little, you're not allowed in here, bullshit.
You can't do this, we're banning it.
If they want to run that stuff, they've got to have some evidence. And if they've got no evidence, it just crumbles.
Well, they tend to not have evidence. They're just too used to having things their own way.
Basically,
I've got a question.
Basically, Mr. Thaler.
Does Timor have a ratepayers association?
No.
Like a formal ratepayers association?
No.
Yeah, right. Maybe we need to assemble one.
Well, you're more than welcome. I'd be happy to come and talk to the Ratepayers Association about any issue they have.
I think so. I mean, I haven't got the time in the day, but I'm sure a well-heeled tactic of interacting with councils in a fairly direct way is a ratepayers association.
Well, it certainly gets some of the issues condensed and formalised.
Yeah.
And as an association, it indicates that there's more than one person. And so if you've got an issue, it indicates an issue that's felt by more than one person. So it does. I think it carries some weight.
Yeah. Well, particularly as the membership grows.
Yes. So there's certainly that. This is interesting. Just when you read some of the press, and the press about this Andrew Thaler appears on multiple news streams, and this regional tends to keep everything I've read that they produced. They mentioned some charges against him that were ultimately withdrawn and dismissed.
Of course.
So you wonder why they even bother mentioning them.
Yeah.
If they've been withdrawn and dismissed, then they didn't exist.
Yeah.
There was no basis.
Clearly found to be somewhat farcical of no volition.
So they go in, every time they mention him, they tend to mention these charges that were ultimately withdrawn and dismissed.
Yeah. At least when the paper throws my charges out, they're usually some fact in them,
Yes.
or they
Well,
exist.
Yes.
You know.
So that's where that's at. So that's a circus. So this bloke's been elected, and the CEO's just gone, I'm out of here. Now,
I think that's hilarious.
I think there's some similarities between Snowy Monero Regional Council and Temora Shire Council. The ex-GM, I'm sure the ex-GM, Mr. Lavelle, he wasn't punching the air when I got elected.
No, he wouldn't.
I'm sure he would have been very disappointed.
Yes,
because me and him didn't see eye to eye.
You
and
didn't.
we'd had some.
But you're not supposed to see eye to eye.
But we'd had some
You're
less than.
supposed to do as you're told.
We'd had some less than what would you say? Some disagreements that it was still unresolved.
Well, that happens.
And for me to get elected, that just really cramped his style, and it would have meant that he's
Well, the whitewash isn't, you know.
Well, who knows?
There's still going to be questions asked. So
anyway, so he left. He left. He didn't leave immediately. He hung around for a while, but then he did leave
earlier than originally planned.
much earlier than he had intended.
Yes, interesting.
So that is interesting. There's still some issues around that. So
I was going to say now, NCAT.
Yes.
Is there anything more going on there?
There's certainly something, and I've mentioned on previous shows that another matter's been filed since Temora Shire Council, after the last information regarding NCAT, had to make a new decision, and they had to seriously consider the recommendations from the tribunal member, and they've released their decision, and they've opted not to disclose very much more of the document than they had previously disclosed, which is a very disappointing, from my opinion, a very disappointing decision from the management of Temora Shire Council. So subsequently, as it's a decision by the council under the GIPA Act, then I've got a right of review. So I'm exercising that right, and I've filed with NCAT to have the matter heard by NCAT, and they'll make a determination as to.
And so, in theory, this time it's going to be, listen, we gave you guys the option to.
Well, we don't know that, but
it should be.
But in the recommendations from the previous matter, and nothing's changed since.
Yeah.
They gave some very strong indications, and we've discussed those previously. The indications were.
Bloody.
The indications were. Whether the questions raised by the applicant in his submissions constitute considerations in favour of disclosure. Now, they had to consider that. They've obviously decided that my questions didn't constitute considerations in favour of disclosure, and I'll be very interested to hear their arguments.
Arguments as to why. Yeah.
There was another very strong recommendation where they, the tribunal member suggested or recommended that council consider whether the public interest in disclosure of government information can be facilitated by granting access to the information in the deed in full or with minimal redaction. It's a pretty strong recommendation.
That's a powerful recommendation.
It's been completely ignored by council, so I'll be very interested to hear what they argue at the case conference. So that's on Monday.
It'll be like most 5-year-olds. I just don't want to do it.
I know.
Don't do it.
We don't like him, and he's nasty.
That's my feelings and shit. I'm a crybaby.
Yeah. So, we like our secrets, and nobody's allowed to know our secrets.
I tell you what, it's kind of, look, it shouldn't be funny to me, but it's funny because they always prove me right. These
Muppets. To me, it's not funny. It's
look, I passed the discuss phase 20 years ago with all these sorts of things. So you're you're coming along in this sort of thing.
Council, and they won't show me.
I was viscerally disgusted 15, 20 years ago when I started looking into this shit the first time. Going, hey, for real? Yeah. And then it got worse, and then I watched it, and then I went through this little phase where I kind of went, you know, all in. I'm going to do whatever I can. And then the COVID shit happened. And I went, oh, for God's sakes.
Yes.
And this is just out of control. And people are still, you know, they vote some dead shit like Dan Andrews back in with a popular majority after everything that scumbag did in Victoria.
The state of Victoria now. And that's all being done
by that dead shit.
Yeah,
Nobody put a statue up for him because communists are broken.
Yeah.
They are communists, and they don't want to. Well, Australia's a communist country. We just don't want to admit it.
But if they put a statue up of Dan Andrews, there will be people identifying as pigeons.
Oh, look, I'll do a special trip.
Yeah, and identify as a pigeon.
And I'll identify as just a bloke who's going to take a big shit on Dan's head. Like, and I've, like, Dan's a scumbag. Palaszczuk, scumbag. Perrottet, weak as water. Yes. Probably a nice version of a scumbag, that Dom, like, because you did fuck all while you were in there to stop it. No. Gladys, again,
Port Hedland Council have come out and they've made a mandate at a local council election.
A mandate?
I love mandates. A local council level that the vaxxers, where is this? Port Hedland, it's extraordinary. Now, the WA Premier said stick to your knitting. Yeah.
Well, so the WA
a local council has come out and said, we're going to ban the vax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've come out and said, we're not having the COVID vaccine in our community.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
They've released a report, or they've taken advice from a report that's supposedly publicly available. There seems to be WA Premier tells Port Hedland Council, stick to your knitting after anti-COVID vaccine motion passes. So the town of Port Hedland held a special council meeting on Friday. Now, this is a very current story.
Yeah, right.
Because this is on Monday the 14th.
Okay.
So we're talking last Friday, less than a week ago. They held a special council meeting on Friday and has instructed its chief executive to write to authorities nationwide to immediately stop the use of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines.
Right.
Now, this is reported by the ABC News.
Well, there's
the next paragraph says,
if ever there was an entity that should be completely defunded by the taxpayer, that's one of them.
The motion centred on a conspiracy theory about DNA contamination from COVID vaccines.
Yeah, right.
So the ABC have obviously some authority in this space about conspiracy theories, and they've deemed the report that the council relied upon as a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, right. I hadn't heard this. This is interesting.
Yeah, so Premier Roger Cook from WA.
Oh, he's the commie that took over from McGowan, who
said the Port Hedland Council had gone off the rails by spreading the unverified claim.
Well, if a community is in and of itself has decided we're not interested in your shit, that's the end of the discussion. Sorry, fuck off, mind your business.
The Premier says the town of Port Hedland should stick to its knitting, the Premier said. So don't protect your citizens. Don't act on information that you believe to be true.
No, do what daddy government tells you.
Do what we tell you and stick to your knitting.
Well, look, I remember Mark McGowan wrote himself a Father's Day card as the father of Western Australia. I puked into my mouth a little bit. The guy's a world-class dead shit. This is the idiot that's followed him in. They are communists, mate. Like
WA's in a whole world of hurt. They've just had some pretty draconian gun laws passed over there.
Yep.
People are limited to a total of 5 firearms.
How is it these pricks' business how many guns you want to own? And it's not. Fuck off.
It's completely impractical for someone who, anyone who's a sporting shooter, say you shoot sporting clays.
Yeah.
At a minimum, you'll have the firearm that you use to participate in that sport.
Right.
Most people, though, often like to have a spare gun because you can turn up.
Goes wrong.
If you have a malfunction and a spring breaks or a firing pin breaks or something breaks down on the day,
yep, you've got an alternative.
So, and quite often people travel to these events.
Yeah.
So quite often people have 2. So there's 2 out of your 5.
Yes.
Okay. Now they might do some pest control for local landowners on something the size of rabbits. So they might need a 22.
I'd like to do some pest control in a few Parliament houses around the joint. But anyway.
Well, they've got a rabbit problem over at the Parliament House.
They've got a parliamentary problem.
Oh, they've got a rabbit problem. Oh, they have. They've been professional shooters over there shooting.
I would say the rabbits being
off the lawns of Parliament House.
I say the rabbits as being far less problematic than what's going on inside those buildings. But anyway.
So you can pretty easily see that the limit of 5 firearms is reached pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly.
By anyone who wants to have a couple of different calibers and one or two variations within that caliber.
Yeah.
So, and that's WA, you know.
Oh, it's coming here as well. And those dickheads, I just don't care. It's none of their business what you own. Nothing. Not
Well,
one iota.
One thing that I find is people who are registered firearm owners have to subject themselves to the highest levels of police checks. They have to prove themselves fit and proper people.
Well, you know, even that statement.
But they have to meet a lot of requirements and a lot of you know, they're under more scrutiny than the average. But my view is that they are under more scrutiny than the average person who's not a gun owner.
Oh, of course they are. You open yourself up to it. But basically, but our laws here, ever since little Johnny the commie, Johnny Howard, the liberal wouldn't know liberalism if it bit him on the fat ass.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go back to that stuff. And yeah,
just look, the gun laws in this country are so over the top. They're so restrictive. If you don't want a gun, don't buy one.
In the
if
UK,
you want one, buy one.
In the UK, as a OH&S and a disturbing the peace mitigating tool, they recommend the use of suppressors, and actually they encourage it. And I think it's almost
but they're arresting people over there for saying nasty things on the internet. So the UK is fucking.
Well, the UK is funny in some respects because they, like in Australia, you've got to jump through massive hoops to get access to suppressors,
right?
Which are another term for silencer.
Yeah.
So you could go out and do pest control in an area and just not make any noise and just get the job done quietly and not disturb anyone.
Yeah.
But in Australia, that's really difficult to achieve because of the licensing. So in New Zealand and in the UK, people are encouraged to use suppressors. In Australia, we can't get access to them.
Yeah, right.
So that's another anomaly with our world-leading gun laws. So we've got, you know, close associates and close, what would you say, democracies in.
Well, I've almost given up on the word democracy as well. To be
the UK and
perfectly honest,
New Zealand, but we've got no. Anyway, like I say, that's just another area. So WA, from the sound of things, the Premier is telling them to stick to their knitting. They're going out there and trying to protect their citizens.
Oh, because what we do without the men with guns to protect us from men with guns.
Yes, but even the vaccines and stuff. So that's interesting to hear. An actual council in Australia who are actually lobbying for the banning of the vaccines.
Well, I think they're good on them for that.
That's a big turnaround to what the mood of the community was.
Well, you know, and there are different communities with different views. I know at one stage I kind of went, look, everybody who kind of agrees with me in the 80 to 90%, let's all just move to Tassie, or we'll move to Queensland, and we'll have one state. Everybody else, the commies can go live in Victoria and watch how that's going downhill. Big shit show. It's going to be debacle. Next 10 years, they're going to be bankrupt. And we just break it off and we go, right, different countries. I'm going to go live in this one. That's, you know, these are the rules. You can go over there and Dr. Daddy Dan will protect you from, I don't know, imaginary monsters, and you can have all the wind farms and solar panels and inject yourselves with whatever the hell you like, from heroin to, you know, Pfizer to whatever, because there's no difference between any of it, really. It's all just a big money-making rort for drug dealers, legal and illegal. And then just separate it all out and go, right, off you go. There's your border. Off you go, you know. Look at North Korea and South Korea.
Yeah, we haven't got much of a choice here.
What's that?
Well, it's, you know, WA or...
Oh, well, I'll pick a state. I don't really give a shit. Just give me one. Give me a small one. We'll make it a free market, you know, free enterprise, free society state, and the rest of them, off you go. No. I'll trade houses with somebody somewhere. Let's go. Let's do like, yeah, look, it's not going to happen, but by Christ, the way it's all going is, I'd be quite happy to. I mean, look, I've got an island lined up. I'm thinking, you know, it won't be too bad. But by Christ,
okay,
I'm just taking it. Right, nobody lives there. I'm just taking it. Mine. You know, like, it's just out of control, mate. And I'm done with these authoritarian, totalitarian.
The story is that China are going to do that with an island down
the
southern hemisphere.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, look, I've said this, and I'll say that again about the Chinese. If they don't do something pretty savage in the next 15 years, they're going to be buggered. and they're pretty much going to tap out anyway.
Well, I think we're going to go extinct because they're talking about the housing crisis and everything else. I think Australia's
there's no housing crisis.
Australia's birth rate is at the lowest levels ever.
Oh, I don't blame people.
I'm going to read ourselves out of existence.
I'm very hesitant to bring children into a world that's so retarded and being driven into oblivion by lunatics, power-hungry maniacs. But the advantage with the Chinese, their one-child policy means they're going to be all out of military-aged males in the next 15, 20 years. All their military-aged males are going to be in their 70s. So, you know, they can send their whole army over here, all 8 billion of them, and they'll be over here on walking frames going, right, we're coming to get you with our chopsticks, and it'll be, you know, game on for young and old. I don't think if that, unless they're going to do something really, really savage, really, really extreme to take over the country in the next 15 years, we don't have to worry about China at all.
I don't think we have to worry about China. I think we've got enough problems within our own country.
Absolutely, we have. But you know, I figured I'd allay everybody's fears and concerns about China.
We don't need to worry about Xi Jinping.
No, we've got to worry about Gigi Dan, Gigi bloody Palaszczuk, who's the idiot up there, that smiley, giggling idiot.
Well, that's all up now, perhaps, isn't it? Where are they up to? They're in the middle of an election.
They're in the middle of an election. I've got.
Now, what did one of their candidates who didn't appreciate the way they were interviewed? After the interview, they basically stuck the finger up at the.
Oh, really?
The interview.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I saw Kamala. I had people ringing me today about Kamala Harris's shit show today. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
What's the odds?
She's tanked.
Really?
She's tanked. Now the story I got today, my mate, Chris out of Dubbo, I think he tunes in here at some stage. So I'll give you a shout out, big fella. He watched it and he rang me afterwards. And he went, "Oh, you've never seen anything like it in your life. Everything, no matter what it was, all came back to Donald Trump's running. Yes, but on your watch, this happened to the border. Yes, but Donald Trump's the opposition, so you have to vote."
It seems to have had an effect on the betting market.
What are they down to?
Donald's into $1.62 and Kamala's blown out to $2.30.
Yeah, it was a. And again, I've
that
had
was a lot closer last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like, I think she was at $1.80 or whatever.
All right, now
she blew herself up big time to the point. The story goes that all of her aides were in the back going, "This interview was over. Get her out of here."
Wow.
It was just a tragic event as far as the Kamala Harris
campaign. Won't be broadcast on any news.
Well, it was a Fox News thing, so it's going to be roll out on one side of the aisle. Won't roll out so much on the other side of the aisle, I'm sure, because everybody's so willing to only watch whatever. I just want to see them do it all in one hit. Roll it out, watch it from start to finish, and make your own mind up.
Yeah. No. They've got to put their spin on it.
But I can't say I didn't laugh my ass off, and I've got a fair bit of faith in Chris's judgment. And when he rings me and he says, "Oh, she's just blown herself to pieces."
Yeah, right.
I kind of went, "I'm going to have to sit down and get some cookies and some popcorn and watch that for 20 minutes."
Another big thing that we're going to have to come back and we're going to have to get Michael Angelkovich back on.
Absolutely, because Liverpool's pretty wild.
Well, the whole thing is Liverpool City Council in Western Sydney was apparently a basket case, and it was blowing itself up to the point where the Minister for Local Government announced an inquiry into the council. They released the report that had instigated the decision to make the inquiry, and they'd basically given Liverpool Council a week to tell them why they shouldn't be dissolved, put under administration.
Yep.
And they were also told that they weren't going to be able to have local government elections.
Yep.
Now, there's obviously a lot of different opinions about their current mayor.
Well, for sure, there always is.
Now, this fellow's name's Ned Manoon. Now, Ned come out fighting with council money and lawyering up, and they went off to the Supreme Court and they questioned the
validity of the Office of Local Government's ruling over them.
Yeah, and they questioned the fact that they weren't going to have elections and all the rest of it. So, bit of to and fro, and the way that the coins have landed after it was all up in the air was Liverpool did go to elections. Ned Manoon was popularly elected again as mayor.
Yeah, I saw. That's wild.
The Office of Local Government have released the terms of reference for an inquiry. So here we are. We've got a council in some sort of a limbo where they've got an inquiry hanging over their head, yet the villain has been re-elected.
Popularly re-elected.
So it's hard to tell what the actual true story is.
What's
here.
what? But one thing I will point out, he's obviously this Nick Manoon.
Ned.
Ned Manoon, Nick Manoon, Ned Kelly, Harry Houdini is, and a big part of politics I've learned over the years is name recognition.
Yes.
Name recognition is a big thing. John Ruddock's a friend of mine. He's in New South Wales Parliament at the moment.
Yes. Well, that's
An awful lot of people when I mention John Ruddock, I see Philip's son. Now, as far as I'm aware, they're not even related. But just that name recognition, people grab for it. That's.
But so is he? Well, this is the big question. Is he? Is he a grub that's about to get found out?
Well,
or is he a good guy that's been framed?
But has he been framed, or did he get all the votes that he got because people are just that's the guy's name, you know?
That's exactly what I'm
like. And there's an awful lot of that. We've seen that here locally. We've seen it. You know, look, I mean, Steph Cook's a good example. Steph Cook is one of the most well-known local politicians in this area. And I haven't got a bad word to say about Steph. Never had a bad issue with her. But she's very, very well known. National Party, no. But, you know, only because they're yellow. What are they, yellow greeny commies now? Whatever they are. But she smashed the results here in the state election. Name recognition. And it was massive name recognition. It wasn't even, there was nobody else on that ballot I knew, and I'm politically aware.
Yeah. But that's to do with the same as McCormick, when McCormick rolls out, because it's traditionally a
Nat seat. You've got an advantage for sure.
So people don't care what the name is. Who's the national candidate?
Well, but if you've got a national candidate who has been well marketed and they know out in these regional areas, they'll vote for him. And you know, was it the same in Liverpool? Did old mate get across the line based on that factor? Who knows? We're going to find out. I'll reach out to Michael for sure.
Developing stories up. Okay, Tamora's back in the saddle. We're back going again. So let's just see how it unrolls. NCAT on the case conference on Monday, depending on the outcome of the case conference, and there'll probably be a hearing date. So there'll be more information following Monday. We've got the absolute, it's a soap opera at Snowy Monero.
Oh, look, I'll ring Andrew and I'll see if he's interested in coming on.
That's a classic. So we're going to follow up on that. The only other one I wanted to check was the new council at Kiama.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a dead set basket case.
Another basket case, plenty of basket cases.
But I think...
And it's funny because people say to me, oh, well, it's not as bad here as in other councils. And you're 100% correct, the people who say that. But that doesn't mean we should aspire to head down the exact same path doing the exact same chonky shit as the other councils.
Yeah, we're just less shit than them.
That's not something to aspire to.
We're just less shit than them.
And in saying that, we've got some really good things about this show. Some people go, oh, you just hate the joint. Not at all. Love the joint. I didn't bring my kid here to raise him by accident. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to accept bullshit, bullying, nonsense, lies, media suppression. I'm certainly not going to accept any of that.
And I'm talking about that stuff. And we're going to actually start to do some in-depth sort of evidence-based look into just what impact it can have on an individual's business and their welfare when a council decides that they're going to turn the screws.
I'll tell you what, my business is booming, but I don't rely on council for any damn thing.
No, but I'll tell you, I've got hard... This is the thing.
You've got hard numbers.
I had a conversation with someone the other day and I said, it's had a massive detrimental impact on my business. And they go, oh, yes, so you say. Well, I said, no. Say the figures say. I can show you figures pre-council and I can show you figures
post-council.
There's a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And these are the figures that council was so happy to roll out in the lead up to the last election.
Yeah.
So they were quite happy to use those figures to try and prove a point. Well, now they're going to have to justify those figures because I'm going to prove a point.
How much work am I getting out of council? Oh, none. So I don't care.
Look, well, I'm in the same boat at the moment.
Yeah. Look, and that's part of it, you know.
But that sucks. If you're a local business and you're doing a good product and they're going out of their way to redirect work away from you, that's bullying.
Of course it is. But you know, look, again, I can't bring myself to be beholden to any of these clans ever. I feel sick to my stomach anytime.
Do I look like I'm beholden to them?
No. But yeah. Look, I get what you're saying, but you know what I mean. I see so many people there that if that trough is removed, they would genuinely
I don't think their throat had been cut.
and legitimately, they would hurt.
Yes.
And it would hurt them. And that to me is really sad that you're so beholden to an entity that, you know, if they turned around and decided you weren't towing the line tomorrow, we're going to spank you to the tune of 40, 50, 60, 100, 150 grand a year, whatever the number may be. I'd be, you know, I couldn't live like that. You know, I could not live so beholden to one organisation in that way, shape, or form, because the minute they're done with you, you're done.
Well, and also they just get you to do terrible things for the fear of losing.
For the fear of losing that out. It's that you know, it's extortion.
I can't find the.
While you're looking for that, I'm going to remind everybody who's watching and listening, the Bears for Hope charity, Hope for Bears, you know, whatever the correct wording is, miscarriage, infant deaths. I'm doing the half marathon in a couple of weeks. I'm going to struggle, I'm telling you. I'm trying to find enough hours in the day to get as much training in as I should. I'm probably doing about half the. To be fair, I'm not doing anywhere near enough training, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to push my fat ass this half marathon, and I'll run the whole way. Don't worry about that. If I say I will, I will. It's going to hurt, but we're raising money. We're aiming for $2,000. I'd love to see some people put some dollars in. Mate, I think I haven't checked it for a few days. My last 4 days, we had a family reunion, all sorts of shit in the last week and a half.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked, but we were up over the 500, and we're at about the 50% mark. So I'm going to start sort of revving some people up over the next few days, that's for sure. And you know, we'll get there. We'll get to $2,000. I think with the way the PayPal fundraisers kind of work, I don't know, it sort of twists out. So I'll probably have to reboot it. I don't know exactly how it works. They let you do 30 days. As opposed to up until the day of or whatever. You can't set an end date. So when that 30 days expires, it's anyway, up until the 2nd of next month, I'll be putting donations into that Bears for Hope.
Yeah.
I'd like to see everybody who listens, watches, as you know, like as I keep saying week in, week out on this show, we get between 250 or 200, 250, whatever it is, up to 2,000 people watching this thing. Everyone gives $1, we've nailed it. Everybody chucks in $5 and we've made a massive difference, and so on and so forth and whatever. And I know the newspaper won't run a story about Bears for Hope here locally because there's no hit job involved in it. I double dare them to turn around and tick some money in. I'm sure Propaganda Pete won't do it, but if you've got the ball, son, I'm sure they'd love your money as well. Again, I donate to charities based on the charity, not the person who necessarily is trying to support a good cause. But so that link will be on my Facebook page. I'll reboot it and make it more accessible again this week, and I'll start promoting the living shit out of it for the next 2 weeks.
Good job. All right, so wrapping it up, we've had Pterodactyl FM, soon to be more extinct. We've got XCAT on Monday. We've got my oath that I've made to the people of Temora Shire, my affirmation, which I'm going to represent your interests. Hope you're glad. We've got Snowy Monero Regional Council, absolute soap opera on steroids.
Definitely going to try.
We're going to do a deep dive on Liverpool and try and get you the nitty gritty on that. We're going to get Michael back and
Djokovic back. I'm sure he'd be happy to.
His take on the soap opera version 2 is going on there. Obviously, over at Kiama, we've had a councillor that was bullied, bashed, given a inappropriate code of conduct, who stood up for themselves, and it's just gassed them, and they've just gone, cat years.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. So she never ran in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. So
don't worry, they're still got
that bullied out the gate thing that happens.
And this isn't ageist, but Councillor Lang she's over 70.
Yeah, right.
She don't need this shit.
Yep.
And I'm sure she'll be doing good things in the Kiama community, and probably without
as many anchors and hassles and bullshit.
And the negativity that those sort of actions, like they've still got that. Remember the ICAC referral that they happened to broadcast and communicate via all of it. And you wonder about the quality even of the media to report that.
Oh, I don't worry about the quality of the media. I know the quality of the media is piddly, piss poor and hopeless.
Yeah, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. If you're watching on the YouTube, do that subscribe and like thing. Doesn't hurt. If you like the program and you're brave enough to do it publicly, share this to your own profile. You just go on where the live stream is. You click like, share. I'm sure it's open to sharing. I'm a sharing kind of guy. Tune in next week. We'll be here once again. And of course, if you do have any questions about the nitty gritty on the internal council matters, this is the man to contact. He's very accessible. He's been handing out information left, right, and centre to anybody brave enough to read it.
Contact details on the council website if you can't find them.
Yep. And anything else we can do, feel free to reach out. I will see if we can tee up some interviews over the next couple of weeks. Just a
big local event coming up this weekend, Warbirds Down Under. Hopefully it's a smash hit. Bit of rough weather coming tomorrow, but the words are that's going to blow through and it's going to be a cracking weekend.
I hope so, because I've got jobs out my wazoo this weekend.
No, there'll be plenty doing.
I need sunshine and rainbows, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what
everybody have a great week. Thank you very much for tuning in to Dean and Irv Spin Doctors. See you next week.